Hello and welcome back to the NFL DFS Slate Breakdown for Week 15 in the NFL. We are here. It's already Week 15. It is the first round of your best ball playoffs, the first round of most season-long playoffs, and we've still got a big DFS week to cover here. I'm your host, Tyler Weeman, at FlatTyler83. We're going to go into this big boy slate we got today. And let's dive straight in. So, first of all, let's start by a little overview of the slate as a whole. We got Cincinnati at Tennessee, 46 game total. Then we have Miami at Houston, 46.5. Then Buffalo at Detroit with a giant 54 total. Then might as well mention Bucks, Chargers, 45. Patriots, Cardinals, 46.5. And then the Sunday night game, if you are on FanDuel or Yahoo, is 46 with Packers versus good old Seahawks. So that does have some information we need to go over. Kenneth Walker has missed practice once again, so it is an important one. Now, the fastest games of the week. We got Cleveland and Cincinnati. We have New Orleans and Washington, Dallas, Carolina, and then I'll throw a fourth in there, which is Indy and Denver. I threw that one in because it was a little bit faster than kind of like average pace still. So got a bonus one there. And I would expect one of those games, if the one of high games doesn't go nuts here. Now, we got 13 games on the slate. There's going to be, one or two teams that kind of overachieve and score way more points. So I think stacking is extremely important this week. I mean, it's always important, but more so on weeks like this than most. And, we have some spots that it's going to be hard to stack, like Buffalo, Detroit, 54-point game total. But it's hard to stack Detroit because they're all expensive. It's hard to stack Buffalo because Josh Allen is insanely expensive. And then you don't necessarily know who to stack him with, so getting that right is tricky. So I think it's a pretty interesting week to really figure out and stack some guys. We're going to go over it all position by position, starting with quarterback. Now, starting with the highest owned quarterbacks, we got Joe Burrow, 8,600. 4-star alert score, 13% owned. My one issue with Joey B is we need a game environment for Joey B to go nuts. And I just don't think that's what we're going to get. Versus the Chargers, 27-34 game. Versus the Ravens, 34-35. Raiders, 41-24. 38-41 versus Baltimore. 33 versus 38 to Washington. Tennessee cannot score that kind of points. We are lucky if they get to 20, and if Tennessee's only at 20, I doubt Burrow is putting up a 35-week winning type score. And if he's not doing that, I can't play him. So for me personally, I am probably out on Joe Burrow. And that also means I'm probably out on Jamar Chase, even though he has been an absolute madman this year. But these type of game environments are just not the games that Burrow and the rest of the crew really go. They're a little bit too reactive for me instead of coming out of the gates just firing away super aggressive. So that's my take. He's obviously a great quarterback. Week in, week out has been solid, but I just don't think this is the week for him. That's what it was. Sorry, I was messing around earlier. All right. Next, Bo Nix, 12% owned, 7,600, 3-star alert score. I think he is a little bit interesting here. Now, it's versus the Colts, who haven't been good all season. Their defense is a little stagnant. Sean Payton and Bo Nix can definitely strategize how to beat this defense. And the running game has just been pretty much non-existent all season long. So it's going to be on the back of Nix. With that, I think it's it's an interesting spot. My one issue is Bo Nix does have some rushing upside, but we haven't seen it lately. As he's got more comfortable in the pocket, more comfortable throwing the ball, he has been running less and less. So I would love some rushing upside for him. If he gets some, he's in a great spot in this matchup, but I just think the rushing upside is a little bit less likely here. And the fact that they're at home does help them. His best games of the year have been at home. So I'm fine having some Bo Nix. Not super heavy on him, but I do want a little bit. And an issue I see is I don't really love Cortland Sutton in this matchup, but Bo Nix has some very cheap stacking partners that make it a little bit interesting going with him altogether. Now, let's keep it going. CJ Stroud, 7,400. When I was doing this, he was coming up a little less owned, and thus he is liked for us. But 7,400, he's a 5-star alert score versus Miami. He hasn't been good all season. We only have him at a 15-point projection. And with how he's playing, I think that's fair. But my issue here is that over the last 4, Miami has been giving it up to quarterbacks, 1.5 touchdowns, almost 280 yards. I like that. If you look on our team defense tool, Stroud is popping up a little bit. Sorry, where was he? Oh, he's at the very bottom for last 10. And then here it is, 20th for last 5. And then if you go to last 2, he's 27th. So as a whole, this defense has been giving it up to quarterbacks a little bit more recently. It also goes along with their offense just being better. So teams have been able to throw against them as they have to because Miami's offense has been better. So I think there's an interesting spot here. I think both teams are able to put up 30 plus points to create a little bit of a shootout situation. And so I am interested in this game. I'm interested in CJ Stroud. I'm going to have a little bit. Jameis Winston, just a very tough matchup versus KC. I'm fine with a little bit. He's cheap enough, but I'm not going to go hard. Geno Smith, 7,200. I struggle to really see him getting over 25. If you want to go there, it's fine, but I don't love it. Jared Goff, he's 8K. We've seen one absolutely huge game and then, a couple 25-plus games. Now, there really hasn't been many games that he's been forced to throw a bunch. He did last week for Green Bay. They scored 31. He threw the ball 41 times. So I think this is a spot where he may throw the ball a lot. And if he throws the ball a lot, there's a good chance he does well. And this game is a high-scoring game. Now, my issue is I do think both teams are going to try and establish the run. The Bills have tried to do that all season, and while Detroit is very good at stopping the run, because of there's the Josh Allen running factor, I just don't think they're necessarily going to be able to totally stop the run. So, this game is interesting. I like it. I want to stack it, but it's going to be very hard to stack. Everybody's expensive. And it really is going to rely on either, say, like a Tim Patrick hitting that is a little less expensive or about to open up value, or on the Bills side, you're able to nail one of their wide receivers, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, who are a little bit cheaper, but we know have some upside. So I like the game environment. I don't mind some Goff. Just going to be a very hard game to stack with the prices that everybody's at. But I'm fine a little bit, but really wanted to talk about that game as a whole. Next, 7,500, Justin Herbert. It's versus the Bucs. We know Herbert can play. He's had some really good games. They're throwing more. Now, without J.K. Dobbins, they cannot run the ball. Now, this is a prime spot for Herbert to just start chucking the ball around. And I don't mind taking some Herbert. He has some decent stacking partners. One thing is if McConkey is not 100%, I'm probably out just because his receivers are awful. So that's one thing that I am going to look at. I would expect Herbert to play even though he is dealing with this ankle issue. And that does hurt him a little bit because maybe he doesn't have as much rushing upside, but I am a little interested in Herbert versus a passing defense that is opponent ranked 31st. Next, Josh Allen, 9,500. I mean, I talked about last week that I was interested in Josh Allen, without stacks or one guy and having two come back from the Rams. That ended up playing out pretty well. Kyron did well. Puka did well. Josh Allen went absolutely nuts. And I think I'm fine to go back here to Josh Allen. But at his price, if he does not bring a wide receiver with him, he is probably not going to break a slate. Just 30 points at 9,500 doesn't totally break the slate. It is nice to have. But if you can't bring along, 1-2 other spots in your lineup, you're probably not hitting. And that is my one worry with this spot. We got Josh Allen, and then we got a guess. I do like Amari Cooper, but he only played 59 or 53% of the snaps. However, he had 14 targets. So I think there's some upside with Cooper. Wouldn't be surprised if he's on the field a little bit more, as they're absolutely working him more and more into this offense, and he could be a beast down the stretch here. So I'm probably going Josh Allen and Cooper, Josh Allen and Kincaid. Josh Allen and somebody is where I got to go here, and I don't want to pay up too much because I want to negate some of that high price 9,500. And Josh Allen isn't going to crush you unless he has a rushing touchdown or two. So I don't feel like you really need to stack him with two guys. Just go one. Make sure you have a Detroit Lion on the other side, because for Allen to really go, it's going to have to be get on my back, Josh Allen. I'm carrying this team quarterback time. And without the Lions scoring, it wouldn't get there. All right. Moving on now. Two people I want to talk about left. I'll talk about Drake May first. Both these guys are going to be value. Drake May, a little interesting for me. I also don't mind going Cardinals defense. They've been decent lately. They've had several games where they've only let like 10 points. But if they stop the offense and allow very little, the defense is Jekyll and Hyde, is what I'm saying. They either stop them, do super good on D, or they let that team go for 25 plus points. I think there's a path to Drake May getting it going a little bit. He has rushing upside, so I'm a little interested. I think 6,900 is too expensive for him, but I think there's a little bit of a path. Now, the real value one I want, 6,800, Bryce Young. He's been playing a lot better. His team keeps staying in games, and he's versus the Dallas Cowboys, who have been giving it up to the quarterback. If we go over to the team defense tool, last 5 games, 30th. Last 10 games, they are, where is it here? 32nd. So they have been getting beat up by the quarterback position. Bryce Young has been running a little bit, adding, 2-3 points, which definitely helps that floor. He has that 24-point game against Tampa. I don't mind having some Bryce Young. Now, we have some games that we want to stack that are super expensive. You can go Bryce Young, Jatavian Sanders, and Thielen, Coker, or Leggett, whatever you want, and you still have a ton of salary to stack some other games and just leave off the quarterback. Those high-scoring games generally do have a running back getting it done as well. So I think going a value stack could unlock some more stuff, as there are some good high-priced running backs that we like. Again, ton of medium-priced wide receivers we like. Also, there's high-priced tight ends if you want to go there. But I think Bryce Young is an interesting kind of strategy we can go into, and I'm a little interested by that. Now, getting over to DraftKings. High owned on DraftKings, we got Tua, Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels only 7,500 on DK, thus he's getting some love. Bryce Young, 4,300, so he's getting some love. Makes a lot of sense. Aaron Rodgers, 5,400 versus the Jags, who just get torched by everybody. Look, Aaron Rodgers can easily go 4x salary here. I wouldn't be that surprised if he's able to go 25. There's also so much hate about him. And then he locks into his 2 wide receivers, so you can go those 2, and, if you want to bring it back with the Jags, fine, but you don't have to. And it looks like Breece Hall is going to miss again. So I like Aaron Rodgers, fine. Breece Young, we covered. Tua, 6,100. I like this game environment. His price point is way better on DraftKings. Definitely interested on Tua, especially because they have a small target tree just like the Texans. So this game, I think, is just a very fun one to stack that personally I think is going to end up going a little overlooked than it is right now. Jaden Daniels, 7,500. My one issue with Jaden is he doesn't throw the ball. You need a rushing touchdown. He's going to have 30 attempts. You can stack him with one guy, but if he doesn't get a rushing touchdown, he's not getting you there. So just know that, and he's going to rush the ball less if they're ahead big time, and the Saints don't have Carr, so just don't really expect the Saints to stay into this game. Now, getting over to running back on FanDuel, we got Chuba Hubbard, 28% owned. I like Chuba versus Dallas. I think he is in a great spot. I think playing this game environment is a fun one. I don't think either defense is very good. Neither offense is that good, but I think they're good enough lately to be moving the ball. They're fast enough to score some additional fantasy points. So even though it's a 43 game total, I'm interested in that game environment. Chuba's just been too good this year not to consider in this spot. Derrick Henry, King Henry versus the Giants. 9,200. This is the exact environment that you like King Henry. Game environment where the Ravens could absolutely just pounce on the Giants and just keep running the ball down their throat. Those are his biggest games of the week of the year is when they've had a big lead. So look, 28 to 25. All right. They barely won versus Dallas, but he had a huge game. 35 to 10 versus Buffalo. Huge game. Next big game, 30 to 23 against Washington. Tampa Bay, 41 to 31, 41 to 10. These games are, their biggest ones where they're able to get a big lead. It's where he rushes the ball a little bit more, has a few more carries. So definitely like some King Henry in this spot. Rico Dowdle, very much interested in him. Like him in stacks of this game. Also like him one-offs if you want. Carolina has been getting crushed on the ground all year long, so totally fine going there. Charbonnet versus the Packers. It does look like it will be Charbonnet again. Love having a little bit of Charbs on my teams here just due to the fact that it looks like Ken Walker will be out again. He has missed the last 2. He put up 35 and he's still cheap. So I'm fine taking some Charbs, and he's in the game regardless. Chase Brown has just been an absolute cheat code. If you want to keep going there, absolutely do it. He has been great. Saquon, 9,300 versus the Steelers, who have typically been good on the ground. Look, he's one of the only guys in the league who has this many 30-plus games, even over quarterbacks. I think Barkley is absolutely fine to play. He is very high on our team defense tool, which is an adjusted metric if they are able to run the ball versus the Steelers, which means they're staying in the game or they have a lead. I think he gets it done, and he can possibly do it. All right, Joe Mixon. He's going to have the workload. Don't absolutely love his price/score. All right, Jahmyr Gibbs, 8K. This game environment we love, so I'm fine getting some Gibbs. The other thing is he's a little bit better when the game stays close because he's used in so many different ways. The passing game, the rushing game, he's explosive. Bills haven't been great versus RB all year, so absolutely interested in some Jahmyr Gibbs. Also, I'm fine with some Montgomery in that spot if you want to do that. Same thing, Bills just aren't good on the ground, and Montgomery is almost a lock for a touchdown, it seems, every week. Rachaad White, 7,200. I think you got to be interested in White. Bucky Irving has missed practice all week. He exited early last game. If they give him the day off, Rachaad White is going to have huge workload and has a huge ceiling in that situation. Brian Robinson, there is no Eckler, 7,300. He's versus Saints D that's not that good, giving up 1.1 touchdowns per game, 1 per game over the last 4, down for some Brian Robinson. The one thing, like last week, is they didn't use him much at the end of the game because they were winning by so much. So that is a concern for this team. Devon Achane versus the Texans. I just absolutely like stacking this game. Achane or the Texans have given up a little bit in the air, and I think that is where Achane can really go. He's also a very explosive back, so if he's able to break one of those long runs, then it opens the whole game environment up a little bit. Maybe the Texans then start slinging it downfield a little bit more and really gets that game environment open. But there's a lot of big play threats in this game, and that is why I like stacking this game so much. You need a big play in this game to start opening it up, and I think it's very, very possible. Running back on DraftKings, we got Chuba Hubbard. Oh, wow. Same high ownership on DraftKings here, with the exception of Charbonnet and Chase Brown are a little different. So we'll just head straight over to the wide receivers then and get into wide receiver talk on FanDuel. High owned Calvin Ridley, 31% owned, 6K, 4-star alert score versus Cincinnati. They're going to be throwing the ball. He's boom bust. He gets the targets week in and week out. I'm fine sprinkling some in, but I think 31% is going way overboard. Elijah Moore, 4,700. He is way too cheap on FanDuel. He has been good. He's 4,700, and it looks like they're going to be missing Njoku and Tillman. We're not sure if he's back. So this target tree is getting real, real small, and Elijah Moore is going to get his. He's going to get his targets. I'm absolutely fine going with some more. 4,700 is just way too low for him. Jamar Chase, I kind of covered in Burrow. It's just not the game environment does well. At his price, we need a 30 plus to really get it done. 20 doesn't get it done. While I think he's a great chance for 16, 18, 19, that's not going to move the needle to win a GPP, and therefore I'm out on Chase. I may have a little bit of him, but I'm not going to have a lot. I think this median projection is just too close to, like the most likely outcome for him instead of like a ceiling outcome. I just don't think the ceiling is there in that spot. Jerry Jeudy, 6,900, absolutely fine going there. Amari Cooper, 5,900. He's still not running the routes that I like, but 14 targets is hard to pass up. I expect the route numbers to go up, and those target numbers are gonna be there, and he's super interesting at that price. T. Higgins kind of goes with Jamar, but a little more willing to play him. However, it's the same thing. If they're not scoring 30, he generally doesn't really, you have to have it. Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. It's versus the Jags. The Jags have been awful all season long in the pass game. I think you got to consider both Jets receivers. Tank Dell, I've said I like that game. I definitely want some Tank Dell, as I do want Nico Collins. Nico Collins I would rather over Tank Dell just because he is so much more explosive, has that big play threat. He is expensive, but I love me some Nico this year, and he's one of the most talented receivers in the game. Amon-Ra, 8,500, another expensive guy, but the one thing I want to point out is there's been only like 2 games this year that he's had double-digit targets. 11 receptions for 119 yards. He didn't get a touchdown, or else that would have been a huge game. Other one versus Jaguars, 11 receptions for 161 and 2. I think the likelihood of him getting 10 plus targets in this game is high. And with that, I think you need to consider Amon-Ra. The only issue I have with him is he really needs 2 touchdowns to have like a you had to have score. And it's just not likely for him to do. He doesn't do it that often. Jaden Reed, his price is coming down. 46 game total game environment. Last game of the night. Definitely have interest here. He's also been better in games where the Packers have lost or road games this year. This is a road game. They are favored by 3 points, but it's only 3 points. So, if this was at a neutral site, they would have this as like a pick'em. Or actually, sorry, it would be like neutral site or at home would be like 6 points minus. But anyways, Seahawks are in this game, I think. With that, probably more targets going his way. I'm fine going with some Jaden Reed. Jalen Waddle, I like this game. Texans play a lot of zone, and it's usually Waddle or Jonnu who gets it done in that situation. Terry McLaurin, like Scary Terry, Noah Brown is out. Noah Brown has a 21.7% target rate. With him gone, more targets are likely going to Scary Terry, so I'm interested there. DK Metcalf. JSN has got the love. DK's price came down a little bit, but he is just an absolute beast and game breaker. So I think people are sleeping on him a little bit, and he could really be a difference maker and hammer that night. Jameson Williams, 6,400. Guy has 20-plus games at 6,400. You got to consider that in a game total of 54. Who the Bills have also been starting to give it up to the wide receiver a little bit. 183.8 over the last 4 and a touchdown per game. Earlier this year, I was like, don't play wide receivers versus Buffalo, but it's turned around a little bit. I liked Coker here, but more so just because he's only 4,900. I think you can put Adam Thielen in this spot or Leggett. I think both are interesting versus the Cowboys here. Thielen's been getting a ton of targets. He is the safer one 100%. But Coker, a flyer value, I think is interesting. And Romeo Doubs, 5,400 is just too cheap in a game. One of the higher game totals of the night where if he plays, he's going to play the most out of anybody in that receiver core. Wide receivers on DraftKings. We got Jamar Chase, Ridley. We got Nico Collins. All of them we've covered. All of them I'm all right with, but you know my feelings on Jamar. Adam Thielen is here at 5,400, and he's too cheap for these amount of targets. 10 targets, 11 targets. Another game that, they're going to throw, probably be effective. Definitely interested in some Adam Thielen. 5,400 is way too cheap on DraftKings. Now, getting over to tight end. High-owned Hunter Henry and Travis Kelce. I don't love either. Fine with both. Hunter Henry I'm probably using only in game script plays, in stacks with May, or as a bring back for the Kyler Murray. Travis Kelce, I just don't love this game environment, and I don't think it's one that they need to pepper him with, 13, 14 targets. Jake Ferguson, I like the game environment, like Bryce Young stacks. And if I'm running it back, I like Ferguson, Lamb, or Dowdle. And that's pretty much how I'm leaving it with the Cowboys. Now, getting into some others. Jonnu Smith, he's one of their zone beaters with Waddle. I'm interested in that and interested in the game. Trey McBride, he has been an absolute beast without scoring a touchdown all season. The touchdowns are going to come. You can't have this many receptions without getting touchdowns. At some point, those are going to come on, and McBride has been a beast. Jatavion Sanders, he's 4,700. He's given us 7, 9, 11, 8, 6, and only one of those scores has a touchdown. If he's able to get in the end zone, give you 50 yards at 4,700, you are loving life. And we like that game environment. It's a fast game as well. Zach Ertz. Look, Noah Brown's gone. More targets going Ertz's way. He's consistently delivering. The only thing is he's kind of touchdown or bust. If he doesn't score you a touchdown, he's not doing anything for your lineup. But that's the tight end position as a whole. So we can move on from that. Also, Dalton Schultz, 5,300. It's just that Miami and Texans game that we like. Getting over to tight end on DraftKings. We got Trey McBride, Evan Ingram, and Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson at 3,800 is too cheap. I would be playing a lot of him there. Evan Ingram, 4,600. I wish it was Trevor Lawrence with no Christian Kirk because I would be slamming this one, but I just can't do it with Mac Jones. The targets aren't totally there, and he hasn't really been able to get in the end zone. The team's bad, so I'm not going there. And lastly, let's get to defense here. We got the Carolina Panthers, Green Bay Packers, and Houston Texans as the 3 high owned. Some pivots I like, the Broncos versus the Colts. You got Anthony Richardson. You never really know what you're going to get. Dallas Cowboys versus Bryce Young in Carolina. I like Carolina, but it's still Carolina. They haven't really got it done. This Dallas Cowboy team has had a couple big weeks recently. Parsons is there. They're getting a little healthier. It's a little bit of an interesting one going low owned. And then the Cardinals, 4,400 versus the Patriots, but look at this. This is what I'm talking about, how they're Jekyll and Hyde. They give up 30, give up 23, hold the 16, hold the 6, hold the 9, and that's the Bears, the Jets, the Seahawks, not like terrible offenses. Hold the Chargers to 15. So they're either really, really good or they give up a ton of points. So I think Cardinals are one to take a chance on. A little expensive, but definitely interested. And then KC Chiefs versus Jameis Winston being Jameis Winston. So you always got to consider any defense versus Winston. That'll do it for us today, guys. I hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you back later next week, actually, because I'm off tomorrow. Peace.